To welcome everybody to the organizational meeting for the Lakota School Board. Ms. Logan, would you please call roll?
Mrs. O'Connor?
Here.
Mr. Pearl?
I am here.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Here.
Mrs. Casper?
Here.
Mr. Lovell?
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first order of business this evening is the election of the officers for 2021. Feels so good to say 2021. All right, so first up is president. Do I have a nomination for president?
I'd like to nominate Kelly Casper. And I will second.
Ms. Logan? I'm assuming we go individually, or should I do both and then do the vote?
No, individual.
Individual, that's what I thought.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Lovell?
Yes,
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
that brings us to vice president, excuse me. Do I have a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Pearl. And I will second that.
Ms. Logan, when you're ready.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mr. Lovell?
Yes,
And Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
fantastic. Well, welcome to the new officers. And at this point, I am going to pass it off to Mrs. Casper to run the rest of the meeting.
Great, thank you. I'm very excited. I appreciate my fellow board members' confidence, even though it doesn't make my vote any more important than yours or my voice. It's nice that you have the confidence in me to do this job. So let's go ahead and start with board policy or our board committees. Thanks to Mrs. O'Connor for catching a snafu. We have added diversity committee, which we've had in the past, but we didn't have it on the agenda in the right place. So we are going to add that to our appointments tonight. So we are trying to do as much board committee without as much upheaval as we can. So I guess, first of all, I'd like to ask the board if we all feel that the diversity committee is something that we should be aware of or have on our board appointments. Anybody? Anybody?
Sure. Can you all,
Go ahead, Michael.
I'm sorry, can you all hear me okay?
We sure can.
Okay, I was just going to add as in talking with people in the community, I think having a diversity and equity committee will be very beneficial to help Mr. Card and his role, his team, as they are in the schools and hearing and sharing all the things that are going on, and we can be a great support to him, as well as Matt and Jenny in whatever way we can as it relates to diversity and equity. So I think it's a valuable committee.
Okay. Do we have, since we have people already slated for other committees, can we talk about, let's do diversity first. Who has an interest in diversity committee?
I have an interest in it, but I would also say that I'd like to make sure that if we're calling it diversity, maybe we could say diversity, equity, and inclusion as well.
Okay.
Encompass all three as we talk about
That's
what
good.
that committee might be.
Great idea. And I can add, I wouldn't mind serving on that committee as well. Happy to do it.
Okay, if I look at my notes, I feel like I have a very crazy chart here. Okay, so in order to make sure that everybody serves on the same amount of committees and leadership is considered, you know, a committee, if I look at this, Mrs. O'Connor has expressed an interest in this year serving on community engagement. And you also do legislative and finance, correct?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor. So if Mr. Pearl and Mr. Lovell do diversity, And Mrs. Schaefer has said she would step off of community engagement to allow you to be on community engagement. Then can we put you on policy, Mrs. Schaefer?
Mhm.
So you would have Butler Tech, finance, and policy. Mrs. O'Connor, you would have legislative, finance, and community engagement. So Mr. Lovell, then you would have policy, diversity, and facilities.
Mhm.
Mr. Pearl, you would have vice president, diversity, and facilities.
And we all serve on.
And we all serve on safety, and then I would have president, legislative, and community engagement. I forgot what I was doing for a brief moment. Everybody would have 3, and everybody would have something that they really want. How does that sound to everyone?
I think that's fine. I support that. I would like to say, just as a personal opinion, I want us to be sure that when we're talking about the diversity committee, that we're talking about a broader piece. It's not just a racial issue. It's not a gender issue. It's not just a cultural issue. It's all those pieces. I'm sorry. I just want to be sure that we are maintaining a very open piece to that, both for our students and how we work internally.
And I think that's hopefully what Mr. Carter's focusing on in his role. So I would agree with that.
Well, we haven't fleshed it out, but I would like to hear more about what we're thinking about doing with it as that is built up.
Okay.
I think we talked to you about having one of our very early work sessions be on just that, Linda, on the work that's going on in that office and how we can contribute to that.
And Mr. Lovell, you said diversity, equity, and inclusion, correct?
Yeah, and I think just to echo what Mrs. O'Connor is saying, I think if we use those 3 terms, I think that captures the work that needs to be done across the district. And so I would say too, that I think that as we start to talk about diversity, equity, inclusion and working with Mr. Card and Lodi and everything that they're doing, I think part of that, I think, yeah, I think part of that plan is really going to take a step back and just like Mrs. O'Connor said, what is our roadmap? Like, what is it that we as a board need to be doing to support that department, but also what is their charge as well as we start to look at some of the initiatives that layered against our strategic plan, but the momentum that we have moving forward as well.
And they've certainly started that work. We had a Zoom call just last week to bring forward some thoughts about what we're sharing. So I think that'll start ramping up here soon.
Okay.
And we'll just be kept in the loop on that.
And perhaps we could come up with a more manageable acronym for that as well.
Lodi?
Lodi is fine too, but
Oh.
other than diversity, equity, and inclusion, maybe something a little more succinct.
Okay.
Just a thought for communication purposes.
And then we all serve on safety, which we've done in the past. Anybody have any more discussion? Is everybody good with that? Perfect. Okay, I'm sorry,
Can we
Jenny.
just go over these
Sure.
just one more time?
Okay, so board policy is Julie and Brad.
Got it.
Community engagement is Linda and myself.
Uh-huh,
Finance business is Julie and Linda.
uh-huh.
Legislative committee is Linda and myself.
Okay.
Facilities is Mike and Brad. We're all on safety. And diversity, equity, and inclusion is Mike and Brad.
Got it. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I had it right.
Great. The next motion that we need is a motion to appoint the legislative liaison to also serve as delegate to the OSBA Capital Conference and appoint an alternate, and this person votes. I currently do it. I'm happy to continue, but if somebody else wants to jump in there, and
I'd be happy to do it as well, whichever.
one of us can do it and one of us can be the alternate, so if you'd like. Do you just want to keep it that I do it and you're the alternate, or
Whatever you'd like, Kelly.
you know how riveting those that meeting is? I'll go ahead and still do it and then will you be the alternate?
Sure.
Okay.
Do we
So I-
not need a motion?
I was gonna say, I need a motion to do that.
Do we need them for the
A
committee?
motion for the committees though, prior to that?
We have done that
I
in the
don't know.
past.
I don't see it on, it doesn't say, so just as a point. So do we need a motion?
We have done a motion in the past to approve all of the committee assignments.
So I'll make a motion to approve the committee assignments.
I'll second.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jen, you called the roll. Sorry.
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes.
And Kelly, I'll make a motion to approve the OSBA delegate and alternate as indicated.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Jenny, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes. Matt, did you pass out to everyone the schedule of meeting dates?
Yes, you should have that in front of you. Those are that's the proposed based on
Proposed.
past years.
If everybody wants to take a look at that and if there's any changes that we think we need to make, otherwise.
I had a question on the OSBA Capital Conference for next year. I was trying to look it up here and I couldn't see where it was for 2021. I just wondered if that November 11th date would be a conflict potentially.
For the November 15th.
November, you mean for the agenda setting? November 15th is the meeting.
I believe the conference is supposed to be that second week, the 7th through the 10th, but we
Okay.
could certainly go ahead and approve this and change it if we find otherwise.
Yeah, if it's gonna.
Last year was the 7th through the 10th.
Okay, so it'll probably be fine. Just wanted to double check that.
Okay.
Good catch.
I love your optimism.
Is there any other dates on here that anybody sees that has an issue? Michael, we'll get you a copy of this when you come home.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the meetings?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Jenny, call the roll, please.
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes. Can we approve item 7 altogether?
May I ask for A to be separated out, please?
Sure. Okay, can I have a motion to approve A, membership renewal with the Ohio School Board Association?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any
Second.
discussion?
I will abstain from this vote with serving on the State Board of Trustees.
Oh, okay.
The only thing I would say, and I don't even know if it goes here, if this is the appropriate place, but it's really 7 overall. Right now, our board policy states that if those are traveling, representing the district, they have to obviously report back and share with the board their experiences. One of the things that I would love to discuss or review during policy this year, which I think it lands in the policy committee, was re-looking at that policy and making sure that we increase our transparency to the community. And so basically saying that if somebody's traveling on behalf of the board, whether that's 10% our district, Butler Tech, so paying the rest of 90%, that it's actually approved by the board ahead of the travel before the funds are released. And so I think that it's just important for me to say that now during this time. But again, I think that's more of a policy thing and taking it through the policy committee. Jenny, do you agree with that?
Policy thing, Jenny?
I believe so, because you do have policy in your bylaws. It does speak to board travel. And so if that's something that you would want to do, I would think it would belong with the board policy.
Okay, then what I'll do is
Conversation.
I'll make a recommendation to the policy committee and bring it forward for a first read on that policy, and we can have more discussion then about it. But I just think that obviously this year there was no travel, I don't think. And so
Went
looking
anywhere.
at this year of just saying, if funds are being spent from the district, even though they're allocated, just being aware ahead of the travel of who's traveling and the cost that's associated with that travel for the district.
I'd suggest if we're going to do that, that we just make it a once a month, it's on the agenda. Is there any board travel to approve?
Yeah, that's a good
That's
way
how
to
they
do
do
it.
it at Butler Tech.
Is
It's approved. Yep, it's a monthly agenda item.
Yeah, we could just add it to the very top of the agenda under board items. And if there's travel that month, we could just.
Then we could
add
just
it in.
approve it.
All right, we'll run that through policy and
Yep.
We should probably look too to see if there's some sort of provision in case it can't be approved ahead of time for something that comes up.
Good point.
And I'm sure that there's some sort of catch off for that, that it would be
Okay.
approved.
There
at
are
the next
workshops
meeting.
and that kind of thing, particularly at the state level. I agree with you, Matt. I think
Yeah.
that makes sense to do it that
Or if
way.
we have some sort of crisis that happens on occasion, just,
Or an opportunity that comes up that we think is
Yeah.
important.
Maybe, okay.
all right.
Okay, Jenny, will you call the roll on 7A, please?
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor,
Abstain.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes. Can I have a motion to approve items B through E?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Jenny, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes. The next item we have to approve is to establish the board service fund as authorized by the Ohio Revised Code, which provides for the setting aside from the general fund a sum not to exceed $202 per student
20,000.
or 20,000, whichever is greater, to be used in paying expenses for board education members. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Jenny, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes. The next item we need a motion for is to authorize board members to travel to our state and national conferences, seminars, meetings, professional development to benefit the governance, academic, or financial status of the district.
So moved.
Second.
Go for it.
Can you call the roll, please, Jenny?
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes. Item 10 is to authorize the superintendent on behalf of this board to accept resignations which have been submitted by employees during times when the board is not in session, subject to a follow-up ratification by this board, provided, however, that upon certification by this board, such resignations shall be deemed effective as of the date and time of the superintendent's acceptance. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Jenny, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes. The next motion is to authorize the superintendent during periods when the board is not in session to make offers of employment directly to candidates for either teaching or non-teaching positions on behalf of this board, and to acknowledge acceptance of such offers on behalf of this board, subject to a subsequent vote of ratification by this board, provided, however, that upon ratification by the board, the employment shall be deemed effective as of the date of the employee's acceptance of the superintendent's offer. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Oh, can you call the roll?
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes. The next thing we have to adopt is the following resolution to secure tax advances from Butler County, and I need to read this whole thing.
You do not have. to do that.
Oh, thank goodness. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Jenny, will you call the roll?
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes. We need to authorize the motion to authorize the treasurer to pay our bills as per appropriations and to invest the funds when possible. Do I have a motion?
Please.
A second?
I'll second. No.
Second.
Kinds of seconds. We all want Jenny to pay the bills.
Yes.
Jenny, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes. We need a motion to adopt the tax budget as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Jenny, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes. We need a motion to approve a resolution of attendance of community events. This is our, like, Reach Out Lakota and Community Foundation events back in the day when we had events. Do I have a motion?
Being optimistic.
So moved.
Second?
Second. Second.
Thank you.
Didn't we last year list the organizations?
It's
They're
in
in
the
a resolution and they
Oh, they
you
are. I'm sorry.
expanded that list last year.
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
we added some last year.
Although last year you weren't able to
To go to
attend
any of-
but
Last year we didn't go to any.
Counts as attendance and having a presence, so.
yes.
Well, that's true. We have done a lot of that. Can you call the roll, Jenny?
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes,
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes. The next motion that we need to approve the use of the 3 attorney firms that we use.
I believe there are 4,
There.
Oh, I'm sorry, there are 4.
and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Great. Jenny, can you call the roll?
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes,
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes. Okay, that's all of the business that we need to do for the organization meeting. We're going to take a 15-minute break. We will be back in 15 minutes to start our regular business meeting.
6:06. Back at 6:06.
6:06. Welcome back, everyone. We are going to go ahead now and start our portion, our regular business meeting portion. The first thing is board president comments, and I don't really have anything. I've been the board president for 15 minutes, so I don't really have much to say. Just again, thank my fellow board members for their support. Mr. Miller, do you have anything?
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. Just really briefly, tomorrow we welcome back half of our students. Tomorrow and Thursday, the other half Wednesday and Friday. And looking forward to seeing their faces with their masks on and social distancing as much as possible. And thanks to our teachers for their work and flexibility in making this happen. I'm glad we have some distance between the winter holidays and the reopening of school. And then we'll be at full strength next Tuesday, the day after Martin Luther King Day. So
Great.
That's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Logan, treasurers.
I do not have any comments tonight.
All right, you guys are making it easy on my first meeting. Okay, this is the part, oh, no, I'm sorry, Betsy, student spotlight. Sorry, I was going to skip right over you. Mrs. Fuller, what do you have for us?
Happy New Year, everybody. Oftentimes, our student spotlight celebrates student achievement in the classroom or on a playing field. Tonight, we're celebrating a student's philanthropic spirit and his desire to help support our military. Trevor Ernest is a sixth grader at Independence Elementary School. Trevor's dad is a surgeon in the United States Air Force and is currently deployed in Afghanistan. Take a look at this video to see how Trevor rallied his school to not only support the troops with supplies, but also bring attention to the important work they are doing overseas.
My name is Trevor Ernest. I am in. My dad is a surgeon in the Air Force, and he is deployed right now in Afghanistan. Recently, their base stores closed down, so they don't have access to goods that they did have. So my dad, we asked him to ask everybody what they wanted, so we could make a list and then get people to donate and send it over. Me and Miss Karstens and my mom came up with this. Then we created flyers and got the boxes and set it up.
So what do you want me to do? How can I help you?
Okay, so
Tell me.
help unpackage this and sort packages, or if it's a really small box.
Okay.
I was surprised how many people didn't know we still had troops in Afghanistan. They didn't know there was a war, so that's part of why I started this donation thing, because people didn't know. If they got supplies from just the government, but never from the people at home, then they might think everybody has forgotten them.
Instead of focusing on what you can't do, which is be with your dad, you decide to focus on what you can do, which is how to make a difference. I think that you have grown as a person because of all you've been through and because of what you've chosen to do. Agree with me?
Yes.
How would
Not only deployment, but I've had to move around a lot.
How would you say you're better because of all of this and because of the choices you've made?
I'm much better at figuring out where the light switches go to which lights in a new house.
Right? Like you're good at turning on the lights in life, not just in your house. You know what I mean by that?
Or cheering other people up.
Yeah. Look at you. Yes, my girl. You make a difference. You turn on the lights.
There's more ramen in all of these boxes and such than there are pencils in this school. And that's saying something because this is a school.
Don't you just love that girl? There's so much love in this.
That's fantastic.
Okay, he's adorable.
He was well organized.
He was like, he did not want to take the time to talk
Right.
about it. He was on a mission and he had
Great.
things to do. It always is so impressive when our students take on something like that. Thank you, Mrs. Fuller, for that. And thank you to Trevor and Independence for getting that on board.
Well, thank you to his father for serving as well.
Exactly. Any other comments? Okay, this is our first opportunity for public comments. Public comments at this point have to be on agenda items. You will have 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address. We do not, Mrs. Logan, have any email comments, and of course, we have nobody in session. Is there any comments, Mr. Zink, on Zoom? Okay. So board reports. Board Policy Committee.
We have not met. We have one coming up, but I don't have that date in front of me.
Okay. Community engagement. We have not had any community engagement since our last meeting. Correct, Mrs. Schaefer? Correct. We do have DPC meeting tomorrow, however.
Wednesday.
Tomorrow's Tuesday, you're right, Wednesday, thank you.
One correction, I said that it's coming up, but it's the new year, so I don't think we've actually defined our committee time yet, so we will be doing, we will be doing that. I was thinking it's typically the first Friday of the month, but
Oh, right, okay.
finding that.
And there was a coffee chat that Mrs. Logan took over from Mr. Miller. So Mr. Miller gave a brief update, and then Mrs. Logan was able to give a financial update in the coffee chat this month. So that was a nice handoff, so that they worked in tandem on that. And Mrs. Logan did all the heavy lifting and giving all the financial updates and giving people an opportunity to ask questions and interact. So I believe, I'm not sure if that is live still. So, but I know that it was recorded, and yes, it is still live. So you can take a look at that. So that was just done on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Just happened to be during a very, very busy news day.
Yes.
There was another topic that took over that day, but yes, we were able to do that, and
Oh, wow.
good.
Do we have a calendar that you could forward to me in terms of DPC and all the other engagements for community engagement?
There's not a calendar, but I believe I will send you the email tonight when I get home for the link for the meeting on Wednesday. And it's just always the second Wednesday, and we usually get an email prior,
11 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Julie, Butler Tech.
Our last meeting, our superintendent had to Zoom in for our last meeting. So that was new. So, but he did a great job via Zoom. I passed along the student success pamphlet that handed that around. If you'll notice, our students made the front page when it was the students that we've been able to highlight who did a prosthetic adaptation for our teacher, so that they did that through their Butler Tech class. So that was nice that was highlighted through all of Butler Tech on the front of the student success newsletter. So we were the cover story for Butler Tech student success. The main topic was the Natural Science Center that is getting redone, the building that is on the Monroe campus. So they are in the phase right now of getting bids and working with an architect on the design phase of that building that they're having redone. So they said that they've gotten a lot of feedback from different community stakeholders, staff and students. So they presented preliminary drawings. And so they have different board representatives. I am not one. But Brett from Monroe is primary on the board and kind of helped talk us through what they're looking at. Very flexible spaces, even with garage doors to kind of go up and down. Again, since they're going to be working with animals, working with landscaping, they really want that to be very flexible space moving forward. So they're very excited about all the feedback, and the students are excited. They even talked about on the stairs of the building, it's going to be wider and deeper. So if somebody is sitting there, they can hold an animal and be working with an animal while they're sitting on the steps. So again, it seems like they've really thought through the best use of that building. And so now they're working on getting bids and the costing of the building after they work through that architectural design phase. So looking forward to that whole process. So that was the primary talk in our last meeting. So.
Great, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Julie? Finance.
We have not met since the last
I
one.
don't think we've set a calendar for the year either yet.
No, but I will be, I'm actually going to be sending something out to ask to put a finance committee meeting together in the very near future, maybe even Friday, if everybody's available, regarding a TIF proposal from Liberty Township. So
Okay, legislative committee. Matt,
Matt, would you like to
Sure.
kick us off?
Yeah, I sent, as part of my update, like last week, I believe, I sent the latest legislative update. The only thing really I want to hit tonight is that the governor made adjustments to the quarantine procedures that I think everybody knows and has heard about. So that'll hopefully keep more kids in school as long as we can stay safe.
Matt, do you want to briefly spell it out just so the community knows?
Yeah, so in the past, it had been 14 days for a close contact, had to be quarantined for 14 days if you were a close contact. Then the governor and ODH shifted to 10 days /7 if you got a negative test. And now it's as long as you're masked up and it's in a classroom situation, and the quarantine is no longer in effect. That doesn't apply to lunchrooms or common areas or gyms and things like that. So there will still be quarantine for students following the 10/7 rule moving forward. So hopefully, I'm thankful that we had this little span between New Year's and Christmas and now, and so hopefully that helps. And so fingers crossed. The only other thing too is I know that the Senate met in Columbus to talk about appointments and president. I know that some of them were suffering from COVID, so some of those things did not happen yet, or they didn't they zoomed them. But that's really the only thing I had in addition to what I sent last week.
Thanks, Matt. Jenny? Sorry, did you have a question?
I can wait.
Jenny?
just to kind of give an update, we've got a whole group of new legislators who are there now. And so we have begun that process of educating people again on our proposal for school funding. One highlight though, during the lame duck session, the studies that were part of the Fair School Funding Plan got put into the capital appropriations bill and funded. So that was pretty great to see. And 3 of those were actually part of the committee that I worked with. So that was good to see there at the end of the year. And then, like I said, we're starting all over with a new General Assembly with lots of new faces. So be ready to hit the ground running again.
Did you want to go ahead with your question?
Did I see, are schools taking off the number of students that are being quarantined off the dashboards now?
So, yeah, so our dashboard will be updated once we're back full go in person. And so it'll just reflect the positive cases.
And you had said you'd be updating it on a daily
Daily,
basis
correct.
as well. So
Yeah,
that was a
it'll be up
change.
daily.
All of those are good things, I think.
Yeah.
We'll still quarantine kids that are exposed outside and in the cafeteria and places where
Correct.
they're not masked.
Or if
right?
they're not masked, correct.
Okay.
Did you have anything?
Just the only thing I would want to say is that can we, to Jenny's point of them being new legislators, I was hoping that maybe the legislative committee could set up meetings with both Mrs. Gross and Senator Lang, just, to touch base and let them, especially Mrs. Gross, who we have not met with prior. I don't want to speak for Matt and Jenny or for you, but I'm happy to go to Columbus if that's easier for them. So that's just something to keep in the back of our minds if you guys wanted to.
Why don't we
Set
set
that
up a
up.
meeting in January? We can lay the plan out for the next several months.
Mhm.
So towards your point, Kelly, there's going to be a lot of activity happening between now and June with the budget coming forward. And one of the things that I'm hearing, Jenny, you're probably hearing the same, is the school funding issue will be a big topic
Right.
in the budget discussions. Hopefully the groundwork that you've laid will make a difference in some of that conversation. And I think it is a perfect time to go for a legislative visit. And I think on their home ground is a good place to do it.
Yeah, so if we could set that up.
So I'll send something up maybe for this month, the end of the month, to get something together.
Okay, great. That's all.
I had a few more things.
Mhm.
As Jenny said, it's the start of the 134th General Assembly with a lot of new legislators, with new leadership in both houses. And what I'm hearing right now, at least in the Senate, is there will be a very big business focus in the Senate. I don't think the House, well, clearly education is a topic for Representative Cupp. So I'm hopeful that remains a priority. But I don't think we've heard too much other than that. Was there anything from the lame duck session that you wanted to bring forward? No? Okay. I took part in a capital conference planning session with OSBA last Friday. And we still have the opportunity, if there are any sessions that we'd like to weigh in or the topics that we'd like to see, have the opportunity to still make that a priority in the planning. So please let me know within the next week or so if there's anything you'd like to see. It's the general categories that it always is, but they're open to whatever sessions we'd like to hear about. One of the things that I suggested was I think there are a tremendous number of lessons learned from this past year, and by then hopefully we'll be in a different place, but much from facilities to remote learning to student engagement to staff support. And said, I think we really need to look back at what worked and what didn't work and sharing some of that out. So that was one of the pieces that I suggested. But if you have other things, please tell me. I want to remind the board that we have the A to Z checklist. And we have two options on that. That has to be in by February 10th. So we have the option, if we want to do a formal resolution at our next board meeting, we can do it that way, or we can all just sign it and that also suffices. So however you'd like to do it is up in the air.
Okay.
I would be happy to collate it if you'd like me to, if people want to send responses back, and then have one document for everybody to look at.
What does the rest of the board feel about that?
I don't have any desire to do it. I mean, we can fill it out, that's fine, but I don't think we need to submit it. If we're using it as more of a formative assessment, just for us to get a kind of a temperature check on how we're doing, to have broader discussions or to submit them, to design our work sessions throughout the year, that's awesome. But just to fill it out and send it to OSBA, because I don't think in the years past, just me speaking, I don't think it actually reflects our relationship and how we operate as a board necessarily. But that's just my opinion.
Julie, you have an opinion?
I'm indifferent.
I like the idea of a temperature check for us internally. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other if we want to send it off. I'm happy to do that as well, but I do think that it's a good measure of a temperature check for us. And I do feel like we maybe need to be a little brutally honest to be able to function better. So.
Yeah, like I said, I'm willing to do it. And if the board wants to submit it, I'll go with the will of the board. My personal opinion is I don't think it's necessarily valuable for us to do. I think sometimes it comes off as just doing something to get an accolade with OSBA or make us look better than we probably are.
Well, then let's use it as a real tool this year.
That's what I would advocate for.
I mean, let's really, whether or not we do it separately or in a work session.
Do we have a work session at our next meeting?
We do.
So couldn't we do it then?
That would give us enough time to submit it in time if you want to submit it.
Would be.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So would you
Does
like me to
Michael have
send it
any-
out to everybody ahead of time
Sure.
and bring it back so we have something to talk about?
Michael?
There too. Does he?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I would be interested in hearing more about it, and going from there. So if at our next work session, we can unpack it more, that would help me be a little bit more clear.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you want to collate that and send it out, and then
Right.
we'll do it separately and review it at the board meeting for the work session.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
And the last item is we have the Southwest Spring Conference is set for March 9th. And the Fall Conference is set for October 14th.
Are they doing the spring one in person at this point, or is it up for
At this
discussion?
point, I would anticipate virtual. We're planning for virtual,
Like the fall?
but the fall possibly, hopefully will be in
Gosh, I
person.
hope so
And the
too.
Capital Conference is, we're planning around both. Even if it's in person, they still plan to do some kind of virtual offering because they found that there were a lot of people who couldn't necessarily take that time off. we're able to participate and at least take advantage of some of the professional development. So it'll be a
Kind of a hybrid.
model. Mhm.
Is that all in a?
That's it.
Okay, we obviously don't have any diversity to report. Treasurer's recommendation action items. I need a motion to approve A and B. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
The second.
Any discussion? Jenny, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes. Superintendent recommendations A and B, approved personnel items and donations. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? Jenny, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes. We don't have a second public comment on here.
We don't.
We do not.
We could just add it,
Yeah, you can just add
You
it.
can add it.
ad lib it.
Adam, do we have anybody?
We don't.
Great, okay.
I don't think they knew based on the agenda that you were offering it. So you might say you're offering it and wait a moment.
Is there anybody on the Zoom that would like to make a public comment about anything?
Okay.
Okay. This is the part of where we come for closing comments, and because Mr. Pearl has been so patient zooming in with us, I'm going to let him go first.
Well, thank you. I want to thank first Mr. Zink for texting me and walking me through this, and I appreciate the board's patience for letting me zoom in on the meeting. And two, thank Jenny and Matt, folks from the board office and the board, and all the text messages, the condolences, and the passing of my father-in-law a few weeks ago. It meant a lot. So thank you for that. And no, and I look forward to working with Mrs. Casper in the role as vice president and supporting her however I can, and obviously learning as quickly as I can. So thank you.
Great, thank you. We'll look forward to seeing you at the next meeting. Mr. Lovell, would you
Definitely.
like to start?
Yeah, I'd just like to congratulate Mrs. Casper and Mr. Pearl on their leadership for the board. I'm looking forward to a new year. Hopefully not as many challenges as 2020, but
That'd be good.
a new year, new opportunities for the district and our families. I think that we've got a lot of momentum happening, and I'm just excited to see what's going to go down.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Happy New Year, congratulations, and go Bucks.
Mrs. O'Connor?
I have a few things. The first, there wasn't really a place to put it into the agenda, but Mr. Miller, as we've finished our first semester with VLO and remote learning and all the rest, that question in my mind is, what's our student achievement looking like?
Yep.
And do we have some measure across the district that we could have in fairly short order? How did it work this first semester? And there's our areas for growth and areas for celebrating, and I would really like to understand that in pretty short order.
We should be able to have more of that for you probably end of February, beginning of March. I can tell you that we had some concerns at the end of the first semester with some students and completion rates for VLO. And so there was some marathon sprinting towards the end of December to get that done. So I haven't seen any updated from winter break until now, but I can bring that to the next work session and give you an indication a little bit then. I'll say too that our VLO numbers have gone lower. I mean, we're talking 3,000, it's probably a little bit less than that right now.
So by 1,000.
Correct, give or take. And we still have some people that are going back and forth, and we're trying to make accommodations for that, and that impacts staffing. And so that's another item we're working on.
Mhm. Okay, I had heard some parental concerns, but I'll share those with you.
Okay, I may have got them, but sure,
You may have. I made that suggestion. So,
good.
I have information about, we have been involved, I think this is the 22nd year of the Martin Luther King celebration. And I've been involved with that planning committee for some time now. and have some information to share with you. I think Betsy probably knows a lot about it with what's going on. Lakota's already involved in it. And lots of different things. They're planning on virtual events. Sorry, my fingers are not working. They're a little chilly. A lot of different events coming up, including right up into February, and some of the
Sorry. Didn't mean to throw those at you.
some of the things that we normally do. So there's a lot going on here, and would like you to take a look at that, and would encourage anyone who's interested to take part in that as well. It's a nice community event, whether it's virtual or it's in person. And speaking of in person, I'm going to ask that we think really hard about at our next meeting, if our kids are back in school and our staff is back in school, that we also allow in person at our meetings. I think that's reasonable. And I think it sets the example of we're all in this, and feel like our meetings should be open within masking and social distance and all those kind of pieces that we think are important towards staying healthy, but that we allow people back in person since our schools are. And I'm completely supportive of our schools being back in person too. So, and my final thing is a personal thank you. I'm involved with an organization called C3. And over the Christmas holidays, we received a phone call from the Mental Health and Addiction Recovery Services Board that we're concerned about our senior citizens and the isolation that they've been feeling through the pandemic and health issues and concerns. And was there anything that we could do? And I took it to Matt and said, any thoughts? And what we ended up with were 500 holiday cards from all of our Lakota early childhood schools, and they were amazing. And from the Edge Teen Center as well. And then we did another event attached to that for senior citizens at a few of our nursing homes and our nursing facilities across the county, and including through the Meals on Wheels program. And we had set a goal of 60 Santa shoeboxes with gifts and small things just to let people know they were being thought of. And our community responded back with enough supplies to send out 179 shoeboxes, which was amazing, and just happened at the right moment for me to kind of renew my faith in my fellow man. So to our community, to our kids and our staff, because clearly our staff had taken time to talk to the kids. The cards were very well worded, even with our little ones, they got it. And I know that it touched a lot of hearts. So I just want to say thank you for the community support, for the district support. Thank you for that.
That's a great job by our teachers and kids and principals to get those done really fast.
Mr. Miller, on that note, you can
Oh, you just jumped that.
just jump right to you.
No, I can't say roll tide or anything like that, so I'm
No, you
good.
can't.
No, and I wouldn't do that. No, I'm good. Thank you.
Mrs. Logan?
Oh, good. Happy New Year, and congratulations to you and Mr. Pearl. Can't wait to congratulate you in person. And I know that this month is Board Appreciation Month. And so next meeting, when we have all 5 of you together, we'll talk more about that. But thank you to all of you. You know, you are public servants, and this is not always an easy job to do, but thank you. So that's it.
I just want to reiterate the board, Happy New Year, and also give a thank you to Mr. Lovell for his year serving as president. It wasn't exactly the most fun year to do it. It was a challenging year, but we appreciate all of your service to the board.
Thank you.
And I also want to speak to Linda's in person. I think that we will be able to go back. Jenny, do you not think so? To in person with limited numbers, social distance, and masks. But I would also like to suggest that when we do that, we will now be in person, and we will continue to Zoom until we make that we now go back. Do we have to do a resolution to, since we're back in person, to not do the public comments via email any longer? How do we have to do that?
That was never part of the original resolution.
Okay, that's what I wondered.
I don't.
It wasn't, the original resolution for continued operations just said that your board policy, I can't remember the exact words, but basically you were going to allow some leniency on how you figured out public comment,
Okay.
because it wasn't going to be in accordance word for word with what your board policy was. And if you remember, we started that email before we had Zoom figured out for the public comment, and then we kept it in. So we're allowing for that live public comment participation, just like you would with a board meeting. So this is just my opinion, but I think if you do the live in person, you allow people to come. I don't know that you need that third option anymore because you've allowed people to come in, and we figured out the Zoom. Thank you to Mr. Wesley and Mr. Zink for figuring that out.
That's what I was
Jenny,
thinking.
I understand what you're saying, but I might offer an alternative view that the email allows those who have to work, who have other commitments, who have kids at home and can't make it to the in-person meetings. Whatever those other commitments might be, at least they have a voice in the process. And I don't think we can have too many ways for our community to communicate with us.
Well,
That's my opinion.
I also think that at any point, any community member can send an email to any of us and or to Mr. Miller and Mrs. Logan. I just don't know if we need that step of reading the public comments that we get via email at the meeting. I don't know if we need 3 ways for, to do the public comments.
What if we work on something in between that? We keep that email address and put it out there as a more visible way to connect with the board members, and people can still connect to you if they have. We can figure something out to use that email more and make it more accessible. Let us work on something.
We have the button
next meeting.
on the board page that just, if you want to email all board members.
We do, but we could also have something on there, even on board docs more prominently.
So a
That it
little more of a
wouldn't
hybrid.
necessarily be part of the agenda per se, but it could be a way that they can connect to you.
At any
Let us
time.
work on something.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I
Let us
just,
work on
we
something.
discussed that at the work session as well.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that out there that I
Good
feel
job.
like it's almost redundant at some point. And
Yeah.
they do have the ability to contact anybody, any community member at any time can contact one or all of us.
Mhm.
I think that button has made it a lot easier. I feel like we're getting a lot more emails to us that are on that headline.
And I agree with you, Kelly. I just don't want to restrict our community from being able to communicate
Right, and I don't either.
ways as possible.
I just would, it's the reading of the, Okay, that's it. I need a motion to adjourn our first meeting of the year.
So moved, go Bucks.
Second,
Second.
Jenny, will you call the roll?
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
I've abused